So, good morning, everyone. This is MC65 Philly. Welcome, and we have Michael Maillot, and he has one of my favorite session, customized SharePoint list forms with SPFx, and it's really a good session for the developers. So, Michael, stage is all yours.
Thank you very much. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for attending my session where I give you a sneak peek regarding a new feature provided in the SharePoint Framework ecosystem since the version 1.50, which is called Form Customizers. So my name is Michael. I'm 365 solution developer at one point. I based in Nantes, which is the west part of France. I have had some opportunities to contribute to the PNP ecosystem, such as the CLI for Microsoft 365. You can reach me out on Twitter, GitHub, and I have also a personal website when I give some tips and tricks and deep dive articles. So a special thanks to Synology as a sponsor. Without it, this event couldn't occur. So thank you very much. So a brief story about list form customization. For those who are new to the SharePoint development with SPFx, SharePoint Online, and most recent application lifecycle management, things were not the same. Were not as it is right now, because back in the past we used to create some packages which contain customization with server-side code and ASP.NET forms and C# backend and many things like this that we used to deploy on SharePoint on-premises forms, and it looked like this. So this is an example of a list form, which was on SharePoint 2010, and this was very specific, and this is what we use to customize. We customize forms with SharePoint Designer, and through directly the this form.aspx, edit form.aspx, new form.aspx, we add this tool to make some customization, and we also add InfoPass, which was the father, if we can call it like this, of Power Apps. And of course, we add Visual Studio, which provides us solution templates to create SharePoint Server package solution that could contain custom forms, content type definition, field definition, list definitions, and everything worked together, or almost, depending. So um, three letters that would give some goosebumps to the old ones here in the audience. WSP. This is the old packages that we deployed on SharePoint farms. This is what was deployed before. This is the format of packages before SPFx files that we know now with SharePoint Framework. The WSP could contain some files, some files that were deployed directly on the SharePoint Server farm, such as the custom this form.aspx, and along with his backend file, which was the .aspx.cs and the .aspx.designer.cs that was contained on the Visual Studio solution. And now that reminds me some use cases where you have you add a Visual Studio solution that contains everything, like I said, the custom forms, the content type, which was related to the list definition, all the this this thing whole that was deployed directly. And imagine that you have your product owner, because yeah, yes, of course, Scrum was already used in companies. So you have the product owners that wants to add a new field to your custom form, and now the trouble starts here, because you want to add this field to this custom form, so you have to update the content type that is already deployed to add this new field, of course, and which means that you have also to update the whole Visual Studio project, which hosts the definition files, and you have to prepare yourself to deploy the whole thing, and to deploy again those definition files, and hope that it won't break during the update process. And 2 times on 3, this is the trouble, because this part was really difficult, because when the way that you uh, developed your solution, and how do you um, deploy it on the farm, could lead to many trouble regarding the content type stuff. Back now to SharePoint Online. Um, Before the form customizer, we had another ways to uh, interact with our list and our list items. We could we can develop custom web parts and deploy them as app pages that are related to a specific list, and then you can play with query parameters, for example, or you can go further. You can use the old schema.xml file, which contains all your list definition, your which ASPX pages are related to your different form context, the new display and edit. But of course, this was not supported by Microsoft if you do search. But finally, since the version 1.15, we have the opportunity to create extensions which are called form customizers, and those are hosted on a specific page that I'll show you just a little bit later. And in order to make these form customizers work, we linked them to a content type. So how does it work? We have a specific page which works as a hosting page, which is called splistform.aspx. It's the same way as it's working when you are developing a web part that you want to make available to Teams as a Teams app, for example. When you deploy your solution to the SharePoint Online tenant app catalog and sync it to Teams, the content of your web part is displayed through a dedicated hosting page when when your front end code is hosted by SharePoint. It's the same for the for your custom list. And in order to make it work, like I said, you have to associate your components with a content type, which can be at list level, at document set level, or through a hub, content type hub. And of course, if you if you link your custom form, your components to your content type hub, all the content type that inherits from this hub will also get this custom component. And this form customizer brings you some context events that I show you right now through a demo. So here we are. I took an example as an example, a list that is based on an existing template that you can find on any SharePoint site, which is an onboarding template. And this is this example is interesting because it contains different field types such as rich text, choice, boolean, dates, person field, and URL field. In this case, I've already deployed my SPFx solution, and I've already linked my component to to my content, to the content type, to my list content type. I'll show you the process just after. But first, let's see what happens if I want to open an existing listed item. Usually, when you click here on the existing item on the new button, you have the right panel that is displayed to show your list item form. But here, as I've associate my component to my list. If I click on existing list item, I'm redirected to a new page, which is the SP list form.aspx with some interesting parameters, which are very important to get some context regarding our component, our form customizer. We have the page type, which indicates if it's display, new, or edit state. We have our list GUID, and if it's necessary, we also have the list item ID. We have also the source, which is our view, the content type ID, on which I linked my form customizer, and the location in my list with the root folder. Let's say that I want to edit. So I move to a new page type, which is the edit one. And as you can see, there are only a few things that are kept from your site context, which are the Office 365 ribbon, of course, but just the menu header of your site. The SharePoint app bar on the left has disappeared, and you also lost information about regarding your list, because everything that you see below the menu header is customized. The SP list form.aspx is a blank page that by default doesn't show anything specific. So in that case, I wanted to provide some elements that to keep consistency for the user from the user interface, to not lose the users, such as the command bar and the breadcrumb. That said, below we have our custom form with fields that I've implemented manually for each field that I wanted to display. And let's say that, for example, I want to say that the badge access review has been done successfully, and I want to say that it's complete. I want to say that it's not Adel that has done it, but our world famous user Megan. And when I save it, you can see that I've updated with my description, my complete Boolean, and my mentor. Now, if I want to add a new item, I'm redirected to a new the page type, the new page type, for which I can add another information. 365 Philly. Awesome. Event. I want to say that it's been completed today, at first day, and made by myself. And here we have our new item. So this is the way it is displayed to users once deployed. Now let's have a look at the code. Here, if maybe I will up, zoom a little bit. Okay. So here we are in our SharePoint Framework solution. This is our extension definition. We have the base form customizer, which we are inherited to from in our to get some context regarding our form customizer. We also have some properties that we can put as query strings, just like any other extension provided by SharePoint Framework ecosystem. Then we have our init on init events in which we'll get some SPFx context, and from which I will load my item if it exists, or init my list item object. To be more efficient, I use the PNPGS library. And if you can see here that there is some information that we can have directly on the init events, which is, for example, the display mode. From this state, we can have the information if we are in the new edit in the display context. We also have some context information that everyone knows when you are working on SharePoint Framework solutions, such as web parts and extension. And we can see that we have some common properties that are inherited from the base context objects, such as the AAD HTTP client factory, which the DOM element, the HTTP client, the instance ID. But we also have some properties that are specific to the base form customizer context, such as the item, which is something that is dedicated, that is new to the SharePoint Framework 1.16, that gives you some OData info regarding your item. You have the item ID and the list object, that you can work with. Then we have our random method here, where we will call my custom component. If I want to get a list item, I'm gonna load information with my item ID that I know in my context. I'm loading my fields, cleaning up some OData information that is not relevant for me, and saving the e tag. I think that is something that is really important when we are working with form customizers, because the e tag prevents you from concurrency updates. And this is really interesting, because this e tag is not provided by default in the form customizer context, but is according to me mandatory to keep you safe when you are working when users are working with list items. So I'm getting some information regarding my list item, which I cast as an interface which contains my fields. Then I'm going to load my custom component. So this component just renders my all the fields that I want to work with. And like I said, I got a field for each column depending on its type. So I have I have some text fields. I have the rich text that is coming from the SPFx, the PNP SPFx React controls. I have a toggle, date picker, drop down, a people picker that is also coming from the PNP SPFx React controls, and text field. All the other fields are, of course, coming from the Fluent UI library. And all those fields are enclosed in a form tag, in order to not worry about form validation. If we have required fields, in this example, I have only the title as required. But if I wanted to have other fields set up as required, placing them in form is pretty interesting, because it's native to HTML5. So it prevents you to put some validation to each of your inputs. I've also placed my command bar, like I said, to keep consistency with the user interface, the SharePoint online user interface separator, a message bar, or in any case, if I have some concurrency issue or other problem when validating my form, and all my state updates for each of my fields. And finally, my save item method, which is declared in my form tag. So to prevent the submit process, which is provided by the form tag, I set up the prevent default, because I want SharePoint to handle the saving event. So I'm calling the onSave event, which is declared in my form customizer definition, and handling any issue that can occur during the saving process. And the onSave method here is the one which is declared in my form customizer definition. So if I'm creating a new item, or updating an existing item, all goes here. I'm reorganizing my item, because here, for example, I have a person field, and if I want the person field to be included in my update process, I have some cleanup to do. So I have to mention this mentor ID. I have to remove the mentor field which has been loaded previously to avoid an entity set error, which can occur for lookup fields and person fields, for example. And then if it's an existing item, I apply an update with the e tag that I've saved before on the loading event. Then I'm calling the form saved only if my solution has been deployed, because we'll see a little bit after that during your development process, when you are running locally your components and that one hasn't been displayed, that hasn't been synced yet to your content type, the splist form.aspx doesn't know where you are coming from, and by default, when you are calling the form saved and form closed inherited events, you are automatically redirected to your SharePoint site homepage, which can be annoyed. So when you are working and developing your custom form, it's according to me better to only trigger the form saved event if you are in production and not when you are currently debugging it. That's why I put this test. So once your package is ready to be deployed, you have to put it on an app catalog. Depending on your solution and your business context, you will need to deploy it to a site collection app catalog or a tenant app catalog. But eventually, you will have to add your solution to your sites and link your components to your content type. So to do such, you have to go through some scripting because there's no user interface to do it. And here you have an example of can you achieve this for the use case that I just show you, with an existing list and a content type that is only linked to a list. You have to get your component ID that you can get from your form customizer manifest file here. And then you have to get the content type. So for example, here I took the default item content type from my employee onboarding list. And from the content type, you have 3 properties that are now available, which are client-side component ID. You have 1 property for each form context, which is interesting because you can decide to keep the native form only for display, for example, but put a specific custom form when you are in a new context or edit context. Or furthermore, you can decide to have another component for for the new context, and in that case, you can specify another component ID, which will be different than for the edit context. In any case, you will have to update your content type and apply this to your site. If you want to roll back and set up the default form, we just have to replace to set your property as null. So we saw that we have a specific form for which I had to add a specific input for each field, for title, the description, the complete, etc., etc. But the SPFx React controls released a new control which is called the dynamic form, and which will perfectly fit to the form customizer context. Let me show you. Here we saw that when I click on my item, I'm redirected to the SP list form with my component, which is hosted in the SharePoint Online Tenant app catalog. But I also started a local environment, which is currently running. And if I'm taking once again my form customizer, here instead of calling my custom my components that I showed you just before, I'm going to call another one here, which I will refer to here, and which is called the dynamic form boiler templates. And this one takes almost the same parameters as the form boilerplate components, but here I have my React control, which is called dynamic form, and just with a few properties, we can have a ready to use custom form. Let me save it. Go back to our form. If save, and here I'm going to load my page with my local environment. It's still compiling. Come on. Gonna be displayed in a few seconds. Yes. Yes. So here we have a ready to use form just from a control declared in our components. And this is great because it from the list GUID and the SPFx context, it loads dynamically all the fields that are declared in our list. And as you can see, we have the data that is coming from our list item. Like I said before, the splist form.aspx by default doesn't contain anything. And as you can see, in this component, I didn't declare a command bar or a breadcrumb because the dynamic for already includes save and cancel default button, which are in the on the bottom part of the control. But let's say that I want to remove the page access and I want to replace once again by idle here. And if I click on save, you'll see what I was talking about when the problem of debugging locally a form customizer, because as you can see here, it's not the one that I deployed, but it's the one that I loaded locally with my local server. If I click on save, the form.saved events redirects automatically on the SharePoint homepage. That's why I've put this if debug statements in my code in order to not be redirected like this when I'm working locally with my form. But like I said, the dynamic form is really interesting because from a SPFx context and the list ID and an item ID, if it exists, you can get a ready to use custom form. I've put an unsubmitted event for, of course, to link to the form save and form close inheriting events available on my form customizer. And I have this method that display a message bar error if I get such during the saving process. And of course, I can decide to make all the fields disabled if I'm in the display mode. Sounds great. So just to finish, I click on console. I got the same. Okay, so just to sum up what we just saw, we talked about debug and the save and close events. Like I said, when you are currently working on your form customizer, and this one hasn't been deployed yet, when you're triggering those events, you are redirected to the home page instead of the list on which you are currently making your development. So it's interesting to cancel those events if you are debugging and if it's not in production. Second thing, it's the e tag, because here I didn't show you, but let's say that I'm going to open my I got open here. I'm going to open the same list item in the two contexts. Okay, so let's say that I have put it back the review on my title and say that it was done week 1, saving. Okay. Now, that wasn't the good example, because if I click on edit, it will be refreshed. Okay. Okay. First day, saving again. Sorry. Say that I put edit. Okay. Now, going back, going to apply my updates that I wanted to show you. Best access review. The 60 days. Okay. Now here I'm still getting the old data. So what if I want to say that not the first day, but after 90 days, and want to put back Megan as a mentor? And if I save, I've catched this concurrency update, which states that the item has been updated since the last version loaded. Please refresh the form to get latest version. And this is something that I've written to inform the user that there is a concurrency update issue, and this is the whole interest of the e tag. So if I of course, if I do F5, I get now the latest version, so I can now perform an update and be sure that it's the latest version. So that's why a tag for me, this is really something important. Also, like I said, the SP list form.aspx is hosted, is a hosting page specific which contains nothing by default. So in order to not disturb your user during its to not disturb the user experience, I think it's really important to prepare the UI in order to keep some consistency to the SharePoint Online context. Then we have some properties that are exposed by the form customizer context, such as the list context, the list item context, which is once again new only to 1.16 version of SharePoint Framework. But we know that uh, before the release of SharePoint 1.15 and the SP list form.aspx hosting page, we already had ways to customize a list form, and the one of the well known in the ecosystem is through Power Apps, because from the years now, for years now, we had the opportunity to customize a list form with Power Apps. The advantage is that it's better integrated because it's displayed on the right panel of your list of your list for your list items. But it needs user authorization when you are first displaying it, except if your company already approved this form for all the company users, and it requires licensing and or other service to be enabled, because you have some companies for which by default this service is disabled and requires some governance. So this can be an issue when you want to customize with Power Apps. And the other approach is the standard form customization, which is available to all the users when you are displaying the right panel, because from this feature, you can set up fields visibility, you can reorder your fields, you can customize with JSON the layouts of your fields, but it's limited since you are limited to put some specific tests, some specific dependencies between your fields, or hiding depending on the users, and other stuff like this. So to finish this session, there is a really important question that you have to ask yourself and ask your business before developing a form customizer, because we know our users and we know how far they can go to achieve their business needs, and when they know that something is possible, they are tempted to go to this solution without thinking, because they have already something that is ready to be used, and they know that we can achieve with some things like form customizers. But we also know that this could lead to some problems. So before going further, you have to ask yourself if what's the final need of your business, what do you want to achieve at the end, in the end, and how do you plan your maintenance, because don't forget that we are linking components to content types, And if you are working with custom forms at a high level, such as content type hub, etc., you can have a major impact if you want to apply an update on those type of extensions. So my suggestion is to ask your business the good questions and focus on the achievement first, and then think about solution design according to their needs. Is it the end, or is it just the beginning of a new development and potentially new problems? Thank you for your attention. So to end up, I will put on the chat some links regarding feedback and regarding the raffle to win a Synology DS NAS. And also, I will put some link in info regarding my session and regarding the how to if you want to reach me. Thank you very much again for your attention, and I'm available for questions.
Hey, Michael, this was really a great session, and I think only one question asked by me only. Uh, do you able to read the question? Get the
Yes, Pooja asks, can we also validate list columns? Also, is there any way to pop up message after delete or save button click? So can we validate list column? Yes, of course, you can get field information, but you have to do it all by yourself. You can get the list column form validation if it's the question you are asking. Yeah, because on all the list column you can set up some form validations specifications, and I think that you can load those validation in your custom form, but you have to do it by yourself because it's not provided by default in the form customizer context. And regarding the second question, you can do whatever you want during the saving the saving process, for example, um, from starting from the moment where you are not triggering the form saved context event, because this one automatically made a redirection to your list. So if you want to you can do anything you want before triggering this event. And the delete button click, I think you can do it. Yeah, you can do it, but it's this time it will be before performing the form closed event, which also redirects you to your list. And I hope I answered the questions as expected.
Yes, yes. It was really great session, and we all enjoyed it. And thank you so much for giving us proper information regarding this SharePoint latest framework version and also the list forms. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to put